I was walking through campus the other day. It's a wonderful world filled with a very diverse set of people that also have some very noticeable things in common. They all need food, they all need water, and some air to survive, and they have all listened to some sort of music at some point in their life. But there is so much diversity in music that they listen to. Who here has not ever had an argument on what is believed to be good music?
Those arguments show an almost fanatical adherence to a certain song or a style. People get upset at a very personal level when their music is harshly criticized. And I mean, it's no wonder. Music is personal. So let's talk about different types of music. I am not here to talk about the different cultural differences in music appreciation, nor am I here to describe the trends in historical music preferences. I am here to show an understanding of the selective tendencies that people possess when listening to a song for the first time. What would make a certain person desire the repetition of that song? Would there be any additional factors in their personality that would increase their appreciation of a particular type of song? The intent of this talk is to explain the link between personality traits and the music preferred by individuals.
And when you break it down, there are essentially two categories that we can put these songs into: accessible and inaccessible. But let's take a step back and look at what makes accessible and inaccessible music the way that they are. Here is an example of a song that you may already know. This is a prime example of an accessible song.
Now, as much as I love Taylor Swift, let's take a look at a prime example of an inaccessible song. This is a song by a band named Hella. And so I must ask, which one do you prefer? What do you think is the difference between accessible and inaccessible music? Now, let's explain accessible music. This usually contains the following traits with slight variations. It usually has a standard 4x4 beat, as well as a major key tonality, simple structure, as well as a similarity to songs that have been previously heard, and usually has a very moderate length.
Now, inaccessible music can contain some of the same characteristics as accessible music, but overwhelmingly deviates from the standard. It usually contains the following traits. It has unconventional and changing rhythms, as well as conflicting melodies and tonalities, unfamiliar patterns, as well as unpredictable structure, as well as nauseating repetition, unusual length. And altogether, this comes up to be very attention-grabbing music. There are some people that ingest accessible music more easily because of its predictability. Some have a harder time consuming inaccessible music because of its unpredictability. When a listener hears recognized patterns in the brain, neurons in their brain begin to fire as they connect to their auditory memory.
When a song is experienced for the first time, there is a sense of anticipation in the listener as soon as there is a pattern identification or recognition. The motif of a song can lead to predictions of how the music will sound throughout. If this prediction is correct, dopamine can be released in the brain and a sense of reward is experienced. For example, when an audience is listening to an accessible pop song, they anticipate the catchy chorus. And when they reach it, they receive a biochemical gratification. But on the flip side, when a listener consumes an inaccessible song, the anticipation levels are not always satisfied because of the unpredictable nature of the song. Thusly, no anticipation satisfied would mean that there is no dopamine released and no sense of satisfaction.
Based on this principle, you would think that there would be no people listening to unconventional or inaccessible music. But it turns out that there is large groups of people that can ingest and even prefer inaccessible music. Why is that? In the article, Predictions and the Brain, How Music Sounds Become Rewarding, the idea of too much prediction is confronted. Under a large number of repetitions, there is no more release of dopamine experienced. Is the musical plateau reached at different points for different people? I believe that the moment of pattern boredom is actually highly dependent on each individual and the particular proportions of personality traits affecting their lifestyle. Personality traits could have a strong effect on the point where fulfillment of expectations stop being rewarding. All humans ingest music, however, everybody absorbs it in very different ways.
Under current psychological knowledge, there are at least 5 personality traits that have been viewed as important in describing behavior. These big 5 personality traits are extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, emotional stability, and openness to experience. Research suggests that personality traits and neurological characteristics may influence the genres of music that one prefers, such as relationships between unconventional music and the openness trait. As an explanation to this correlation made in previous research, people whose personalities show the openness trait tend to crave situations with lower levels of anticipation, such as inaccessible music.
Also, it may be that individuals who report high degrees of neuroticism may be likely to prefer familiar situations and experiences with high levels of anticipation, and music genres such as pop music. This level of anticipation would therefore be the explanatory link behind the previously studied correlations between personality traits and musical preference.
The Journal of Youth and Adolescence published a study that proposed that children tend to gravitate towards music that relates to their personality traits. Therefore, people tend to prefer music that meshes well with their personality because they can psychologically connect to it. But why should we care? How does this help our understanding of the world around us?
In a study on reciprocal relationships between neuroticism and life events performed by Dr. Geronis Bertis and his team, it was determined that there is a strong relationship between the two. Negative and overstimulating events can lead to neuroticism. Could this have a general effect on musical preferences? Would this idea be supported in any way in our current times?
The idea of life events and changes in personality traits, along with the anticipation correlations thesis, may explain the huge popularity of pop songs and their high degree of musical predictability in our current times. The world is changing at a very fast pace. So much so that our minds are continuously stimulated by new and unpredictable events every single day. This is occurring in the same time as the boom of pop music in the music industry.
And under the thesis presented earlier, it is indicated that the predictability of pop songs offer comfort to the modern human. It provides as a mode of relaxation, as well as tension-relieving processes. Likewise, music is a crucial tool in communicating.
The more that we understand music, the more that we can interpret societal connections and develop advancements in psychology and understand the human mind.